The Exterminator. Written and edited by Vanessa Upshaw. Narrated by Kyra Upshaw.
Invaded. The house had been invaded. They were everywhere. The place was, to put it simply, infested. It didn't matter that she couldn't see them all. She had seen enough to know they were there, and knowing they were there was all that mattered. They were always hiding and slinking around, mostly sticking to the dark shadows and moving whenever they thought her back was turned. But it didn't matter how cunning they tried to be. There was always at least one or two who slipped up. One or two who didn't move fast enough. And once she spotted one of them, she would then commence the hunt. She didn't need anything fancy, for they were easy enough to kill. Any blunt object would do the job, and even if necessary, the heel of her shoe. That is, if she put enough strength behind the blow. It always took several strikes, and that was the hardest part. The way they always fought to live, the way they struggled desperately to get away, their fat, bloated bodies doing a spastic dance in response to the shock and trauma from the impact upon their soft, unprotected bodies. They would flip and flop in the throes of pure reaction from the assault. The little pests had no weapons, no means in which to defend or protect themselves. They were soft, mushy, and palpable, exposed and vulnerable from every angle. This fact did not ignite sympathy within her, but instead fueled her disgust and revulsion, making her only more adamant about completely ridding the house and her life of them. To her, there was nothing more disturbing than to try to live your life day to day when you were constantly finding them underfoot and in the way, or even across the room out of the corner of your eye. She often wondered what her company thought when they came to visit, and they would by chance spot one of them. Were they overcome with revulsion as she was? Constantly alert, she kept an eye out for their reactions. She found that sometimes her company would display either annoyance or indifference. But she sensed what they were hiding, what lied just beneath the surface. She sensed their unease at the sight of seeing such a grotesque thing moving sluggishly across her living room floor as if it had every right to be there. Imagine the gall of those little bastards! The audacity of them to invade her life and home and then flaunt themselves about as if they were mocking her inability to succeed in ever truly ridding herself from their presence. Did they think she would accept them? Simply coexist peacefully? Did they think their tenacity to hang about was something to be admired? Did they think that eventually she would give in? Never. No more. This was it. She had had enough. Today, she had very important company arriving, and she absolutely needed to be prepared. She needed to project a cleanly and untainted image, and not only in her personal appearance, but also in the very environment that she lived in. Her appearance, in short, was her livelihood, and she could not, would not, let those little critters stand in the way of her success. This was a merger that had been in the works for months. She had put tons of blood and sweat into it. She had worked odd hours and had tolerated disrespect, criticism, and jealousy. She had made many sacrifices, and now, after all her hard work, it was finally time to close the deal. And in order to do that, everything had to be at its best. So they had to go. There was just no two ways about it. She had always been a very thorough individual. She was thorough in all aspects of her life, and now she had a plan. She would systematically go through her house from top to bottom. She would inspect every nook and every cranny, and she would eliminate each and every little fat, bloated, scurrying intruder until she had exterminated the whole lot of them. She needed to get started right now, Her date was at 8, and it was now already 11:30. She needed time to hunt them down, to kill them, and then dispose of their remains. Then on top of that, she needed then to get herself ready. And that required her to get washed, scour her closet for the most dazzling dress she owned, fix her hair and put on makeup. There was much to get done before her date tonight. But regardless of what she had to do, she was determined to get the job done. No amount of struggling, no cries of pain, no huge, depthless eyes pleading for mercy. Nothing would allow her to deter from the grim task that was at hand. Whatever the cost, she would be free. She would exterminate them, once and for all.